Episode number 212.
But if you can step into your passion, if you can find your passion and follow that, and if you can surround yourself with the right people, chances are you're going to live a much better, more passionate life.
Welcome to the Be Real Show with Travis Too Tall and Huff, where we talk about life, dreams, social media, and business.
Well, hello and welcome to the Be Real Show with Travis Too Tall and Huff. Folks, I'm fired up today and we are about to bring you some lovely interviews today because we have our friends here, Kimberly Resch and Brian Ross from the Conscious Content Collective, folks. And we are pumped because they are our featured guests. Are you guys ready to be real today?
Yes.
Yes, we are.
Let's do this. Let's do this. And they are actually now, folks, on the road to Remarkable from their podcast, turning that into a film, folks, and taking this footage from the stories that they get along the way, and specifically also helping the NFL players. And we're going to get into that. They're actually, folks, it's going to be at the Super Bowl and all that fun vibe that's going out there in Miami and South Beach. But we're a pleasure to have you on the show today. How's you guys' days going today?
We are doing well.
It's doing well, so we're working.
That's right. That's right. I'm so excited to have you on the show. I'm so excited to have you on the show. Are you guys pumped up to be at the Super Bowl or around that buzz, the vibe that's out there?
Well, to correct the actual thing, we're going to be in Aventura before the Super Bowl.
Oh, okay, before. Yeah, well, still it's the buzz.
It's the whole thing. Like all of Miami's going to be jacked up.
What we're doing is we're launching Road to Remarkable, our podcast and a new platform with the NFL alumni during the week at an event that is really where all the business gets done during that week of the Super Bowl. So there's players that are currently playing and there's players that are getting ready to retire. And this is an event where, from what we understand, everybody is going to. So we got invited to not only be a part of it, but also to be the company that films a lot of what's going on too. So we'll have the entire film crew of Conscious Content there filming the goings on, and we've got some special rooms set up for doing interviews with players, and it's really pretty exciting actually. When you think of what we've been doing prior to this. So.
That's and tell us a little bit about the Conscious Content Collective. Tell us a little bit about the journey. What was the inspiration? I'm looking at your website right now, but I'd love to hear from you guys.
We're just a bunch of people that are pretty decent in our niche, and we got better and better and better, and then we all came together, and we've just been creating Brian coined the phrase remarkable, and so that remarkable, you want to tell them what remarkable means, Brian? It's your word.
So before I do that, she said we're just kind of coming together. There's a lot more to this. There was a podcast that just came out that interviewed Just Kim. It was the Naked Podcaster is what it was. So there's more.
Jen Taylor.
Anyways,
awesome.
So Kimberly really was the driving force behind before Conscious Content was created. It was her idea based on a childhood incident that resulted in PTSD. That she wanted to create a documentary, and she developed a relationship, or had already started to develop a relationship with a really talented group of guys over at Shaman Motion Pictures. And I came in a little bit later as I was asked by Kimberly just to help out as a business manager or bring some insight to it. And I have to be honest, when she asked me, of course, I thought it was exciting. My background is financial advising, and I'm an entrepreneur, but knew nothing about films.
Wow.
So I just scratched my head for a while, not figuring what the hell I was actually going to bring to the table with all this. But one thing that I noticed right away as I was invited out on some of these sets, and I listened to the stories as they were creating Light in the Darkness, that's our film about PTSD and trauma, is that how powerful and relatable these stories were. And when the guys started to, our director who was editing started sending me over short pieces of some of these interviews, I watched them with Kimberly, and I was literally, we were both brought to tears. It was so powerful. And coming from a background of business, not media, I don't know that I was expecting it. When I saw how powerful those interviews could be through the power of really talented filmmakers and post editing and the right film, music, and I looked at her and I said, "This is so powerful. There's so many broken things in the world, right?"
Yeah, totally.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And we wanted people to see it in a cinematic way, and that's something that Shaman Motion Pictures, Max Buzzer Media, who's actually in the studio
They're
with
in
us.
the studio with us.
Yeah, I'm filming some B-roll for a film.
Nice.
And you're part of that. You'll be immortalized forever.
That's awesome.
Right, yeah, you're on a 27-inch screen right now.
Boom! Bam, 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 bam! Watch out, folks. Watch out.
So we got you full screen so we can see you.
Yeah,
That's
you're
exciting. I hope I don't got any boogers up in there. This is the B-roll show. I hope I don't got any boogers up in there. It's all right. It'll be in 3D.
There are no
Negative.
negative on the boogers.
We'll edit that out. We'll edit that out, folks. But yes, we're so then take us through the journey of the road to remarkable, because is that now a different pitch or stories, and you're collecting not PTSD stories, but now different types of stories you're collecting?
Yeah, so just to finish up on that real quick, the reason we started Conscious Content was because we realized we both wanted to do something more profound with our life. We were both I was in my own business, and she was, just stepping away from corporate to try to figure out this film thing. We decided to start. We knew there was a lot of content out there, as you know yourself.
Absolutely.
But there wasn't a lot of mindful media or conscious content. And all of a sudden a light went off in our head and said, why don't we just start creating it?
Wow.
And it didn't take very long that we set up the company, Conscious Content, and worked something out that was beneficial to everybody involved, and especially Shaman Motion Pictures to be a partner of ours. And we just started down that road. And since then, we've completed Light in the Darkness. You're not going to be running video, but behind me in the studio, there are 3 other films. There's 4 other films. We have 6 in the works.
Wow.
All about topics that matter. So we bring awareness and education to most of humanity. And that's something we want to talk to you about. But Road to Remarkable.
Yeah, Road to Remarkable
Was a story, and Kim's going to fill in on this a lot as we get farther in. I like to open it up a little bit, but she's the technical part of this, to get her done part of this. But she came to me and she said, Brian, you're always using this word remarkable with the guys and with people around us to hold us at a baseline level of quality, right? And I said, yeah, I think it's really important. And she said, well, I think it's important too, especially as the CEO of our company. Have you really considered whether or not you are actually using that word for yourself? Are you performing at a remarkable level? Because we know we are, or we're trying our best. And I had to really take a few moments. You look in the mirror, and it's not the easiest thing to do, right? But as an entrepreneur and a business owner, pretty much my whole life, I haven't had a lot of people hold me accountable, right?
You're the boss. You're the boss always.
Yeah, so you almost have to join groups of people doing better than you to be held accountable, right? Which I have, but I had to really swallow my pride and realize, whoa, we've got some work to do. I was proud of some of the things, but damn, not all of them, and not most of them, right? So we started pinning out what Road to Remarkable. Well, none of us believed, I don't know where I take this except the fact that I knew I wasn't remarkable, but I was on a pathway of we were trying to be that, right? I was trying to be that.
Yes.
So we're all kind of on this road of life. And we started talking about it. And I said, maybe I'm just on the road to remarkable, and I'm just trying to become better. And wouldn't it be super interesting to interview people that were on a similar path, or were out there in the world trying to create a life or do something bigger than themselves, right? Maybe let's start a podcast and start interviewing people and get, if nothing else, we get mentored along the way, right? We learn from others that are doing better than us.
Absolutely.
And we share it. And essentially that's where Road to Remarkable came from. And it's still in infancy. We haven't launched. We actually launch at the Super Bowl. But
okay, nice. Exciting. That's exciting.
So we're doing interviews, but we haven't launched them yet. So we're simply recording them. We do audio and video, but Yeah, we started talking with some people that you know as well about the concept, and they looked at our backgrounds and realized what we do with film and said, we really like what we're doing. Can we introduce you to a couple people? And that has led to something that we really can't quite talk about yet, but it has the potential to be very exciting. It has the potential to help a lot of people. And I coined another phrase by Zig Ziglar. I simply borrow it. If you help enough people get what they need in life, you never have to worry about what you need in life. And so it has that potential. So
that's exciting. You guys got a lot of exciting things going on over there.
Yeah, we're covering quite a few different verticals with a lot of different projects, but the one thing that is completely and totally standard for us in our level of remarkability is that it has a human connection standard. So all of the things we do, like the light and the darkness was about mental illness, which is a huge thing. Even like Lady Gaga and Oprah Winfrey are talking about it first thing, they're trying to eradicate mental health or a mental illness with mental health.
We want to lift the stigma about it.
And we've been working on this film for 3 years.
Wow.
So it's like, we know it's a big deal, but it's really awesome when you have people with a lot of influence that are helping the journey move along, where people are more receptive to even talking about it. Where when we were interviewing people, the stories were like, nobody's talking about this. And we're just like, why is no one talking about this? This is affecting millions and millions of hundreds of millions of people at any given time, just in the United States, not even globally, where there's suppressed economy, so it's a human issue. And then the next film, we have quite a few films.
We have
quite a few films that are filmed. One is the workplace garden, and that's a term that is used now in kind of a niche phrase for corporations that are taking social responsibility and working with their intellectual capital, which is their employees, and helping them to have a better work-life balance where they can be a better husband, a better wife, a better parent, a better citizen, global citizen, community citizen, a better person in general, community leader, as well as the offset of that is if you're not supported in where you're working, you spend most of your time there. So people are, getting divorced and they're not feeling worthwhile, and they're just not getting what they need. And when they get home, they're exhausted, and that's just energetically because you're giving your energy to somebody who doesn't deserve it. So if you have a company, right? I mean, you're
a company of human capital, where intellectual capital we always looked at maybe is the most important thing, but it's transitioning now to where we have to pay attention, which we feel like we kind of naturally do.
Yeah,
maybe. But
we strive at Conscious Content to be not only an emotionally intelligent company, but to be a company where we live in empathy. I mean, not so much where we fall apart, but like live in empathy, where we can understand and we want to tell the story and we're not judging.
Right.
And one thing that we've learned is there's lacking of many things, one of which is compassion and empathy. Another thing is remarkability. People don't understand what it really means to step up unless your baseline is, I'm a Super Bowler. Well, what did it take to do that? It took 35 years of working your butt off to get to a point of where you were at, and people don't look at that.
Right.
So I mean, just from today, we went to 3 or 4 different, we ran some errands and did 3 or 4 things, and just from a phone call to an insurance company, which was less than remarkable, let's say it that way, to service on your car, which is also less than remarkable because not everyone's checking basic things that you would think that they would, because that's their niche. That's what they do.
Right.
And us as lay people have to ask the right questions, because we're like, what about this? Did you check? Hold on, I see this. And they're just like, well, we didn't look. It's like, well, isn't that what you do?
Why am I paying you guys money? Why am I paying you guys money to be a professional here? Absolutely.
So, right. So when we find people that are remarkable, we want to bring that to the forefront because that matters.
And we want to feed it.
And if I was to be totally transparent, Brian has been interviewing, I don't know, maybe 10 different pro ball players.
Yes.
Whether it's WNBA, NFL, NBA, whatever that looks like. There is one commonality that I've heard amongst all of these really phenomenal podcasts. And it's that they are like, you do the work and you show up. End of day. You do the work and you show up, and you stop complaining and you do the work and you show up.
Teamwork
and you, yes. And so, but if everybody on the team does that, and then they work together. That's what wins Super Bowls. That's what wins Olympics. I mean, championships is they, but the other commonality is empathy and compassion and appreciating human capital and realizing that you're a part of a whole. And most people, at least in business, they don't have that kind of team network. And I think that's maybe what has attracted me unseemingly to, and maybe even Brian, to working with a lot of players now, is because they understand teamwork. They get the collaboration better than any people that we've ever really met in corporate.
Sure.
Business.
Right.
Because they understand, I need you in order to get where we're going. And
right.
In our team, we work like that. We are a team.
That's awesome.
And we never forget that. And when we do, one of us reminds us that we are not an I, we are a we.
It's all a learning process for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah, there's a huge, folks, as you guys know probably, is that there's just like a huge amount of entertainers, celebrities, athletes, etc., that get paid these huge checks. I was watching one yesterday with Evander Holyfield. This guy's made over $200 million, folks. And this was in the 80s, 90s, and 2000s. So if he had been investing in the right places, he'd be a billionaire. Okay. But, the thing is, they just, some of them get, the bad influence around them in their lives, I think, too. They get the wrong people telling them the wrong things. They get bought into ideas and investments that don't even make too much sense, as far as like when you really think about it. But because they got maybe so much things popping in their lives and they think this money's just going to keep making more money. And then when it dries up, it just dries up for them, and you've seen that on all levels. So, folks, I would just say always this. My dad always kept it real simple. Don't spend more than you make. It's not really that hard. Just think about that every day in your lives. And if you have an issue, a lot of these athletes and things don't look at their bank accounts. They don't look at these things. They think that the people that are managing their money are doing it legitly, and they don't even freaking know. And next thing you know, you got, $500,000 going to this deal, and that turned into a zero. Oh, this money goes, you can't make up 500 G's. It just doesn't happen like that for anybody, unless you're on the highest level. So I'm sure that the craziest thing is that the experience and appreciation they have for you for capturing their story, telling their story, because a lot of them maybe don't, they've made it in the league and now they got washed up. There's a new guy taking over. Let's just be real. There's the Patrick Mahomes, and think about the past chief quarterbacks. No one's talking about them. They're all talking about Patrick Mahomes, not the other 50 guys that have maybe played there over the last 50 years, because they haven't made it to the Super Bowl for 50 years, right? The Chiefs. Yeah. And no one's talking about those guys, So the whole truth is like, there's a point of like real high highs, and then you got to handle the low lows, because you're going to come off the stage. Your body's not going to be able to handle it. Maybe you get an injury, And so I'm sure that they're really appreciative for you helping tell their story. I think now more than ever.
I think that actually led to the idea of the RR Academy, which is the Road to Remarkable Academy, because exactly what you're talking about is when you have a seasoned professional who is now a businessman, who has that experience, who's been a player, who's been really structured, who has had the same, I guess we should say, structure, right? Every day they've had somebody holding them accountable. Now suddenly they're out. That transitional period for the first 1 to 2 years. In fact, we were at a store in a local mall, ironically, exchanging out a Christmas present of all places. They found out who we were, and they're like, my husband played professional baseball for 20 years.
Wow.
For 20 years. And the transition between him being professional to trying to figure out what he wanted to be when he grew up was the most painful thing that their families experienced, because he no longer had a timeline of where he needed to be all the time. And his worth was starting to flail because people weren't calling him all the time. He had to initiate his own experience. Right. And so the family is having a hard time as well understanding. And when we've been talking to the Player Network event, to Guy Troop, and to some of the other people, when they're talking about the player transition process, there's a huge gap in coverage from the knowledge of the seniors to the knowledge of the rookies, or lack of. So if they can just communicate, and that's where an RR Academy comes in, is where you have these really beautifully tenured professionals that are looking for purpose now, and you have rookies that are looking for mentorship. Yes. And there's no ego in that. It's just like, let me as a single cell changing into another cell, I'm changing all and giving you all the information I have, and I'm passing it down to you. You know,
Absolutely.
You had mentioned something about the, Evander Holyfield and these players, from my experience, which is limited with working with these players, but not with people, because I was financial advisor for years. But, a lot of these players, these kids get plucked out of small towns, and they came from nothing or no structure as it relates to finance. So a lot of them didn't even have bank accounts. And then they get pulled into the college, they go through that. And at that point, they're sort of coddled and managed and mentored, but they have the structure, and they're immediately put into these positions of leadership, and they're not ready for it. So when they come out, a lot of times they step into a position what they think should be leadership, rather than going to work with someone and getting more and having that structure and learning how to do things. But basic things like managing money. Right? You'd think of Evander Holyfield, $200 million, if he'd have just invested that in the safest things. I mean, he could have put them in annuities and set for life. But it doesn't work that way. They also, here's another really interesting thing that Kim and I are starting to understand about these players and about us working with folks with PTSD and mental illness when we were creating that film, Light in the Darkness, is that these kids come from these towns, right? And all of a sudden, everyone in their town knows they got this contract. Not just their family, but everyone in their town. And I was interviewing a guy a couple of weeks ago, and I felt terrible for him. He's doing well now, but he said he goes, I didn't enjoy my career because it was so stressful. Every day I was getting a call or a letter from someone that had possibly a legitimate problem, a sickness, health issues, about to lose their house, whatever it is. Wow. And how do I pick and choose who I take care of? And for God's sakes, I'm not even, this isn't even a guaranteed contract. He played for 7 years. Right. And when he got out, he had some money, but he said a lot of these guys, they don't understand finance. They do have good coaches and mentors around them. The NFL, the NBA, they're doing a great job for what their part is. But a lot of times we think of them having these entourages. Well, they're sort of being followed because everybody thinks they got the big contract. Please help us. And if you don't, you're a bad person, right?
Right.
So
Absolutely.
It starts this spiral with a lot of these people, men and women, to where they have depression. They have these highs and they have these lows. And they're also, from some other friends we have that are former professional players, they also become targets, they get taken advantage of, or, maybe when they're young, they meet the wrong spouse and that doesn't work out.
That happens a lot. That happens a lot.
Or 7 spouses. I know a few of the players have like 8 kids from 8 different ladies. It's like, holy moly, you're going to be paying all your, I forgot what his name is, but I think it was Cromartie. If you remember that guy's name, Anthony Cromartie, or if you look him up, he's got like 8 different kids from 7 different wives. So can you just imagine the spousal support and the legal fees and all that stuff that he's paid out over the years just to battle for custody or whatever? It's insane.
And at the end of the day, he just wanted to be seen and appreciated for who he was without all the BS.
Right.
And so, obviously, if he's not secure in who he was as a person in general, you get what you attract.
Right.
So,
right.
So when we talk about like the law of attraction and things like that, educating them at a very like rookie level as to these are the things you need to know. We're going to take you literally to school for finance with a financial advisor so you can understand a little bit about what this looks like. We're going to get you a proper attorney, and we're going to make sure that your agent has your back.
Because those are all the people. You just named all the people that screw them, basically.
It's not universal, but it does happen.
It's not everyone.
There's some good agents out there for sure. You know one.
Absolutely.
Yes, no, that's for sure. And so it's just a matter of, you have to take the bull by the horns for yourself. And we teach with the teaching emotional intelligence. It's the cornerstone of it is self-awareness.
Yes.
You have to know who you are. And if I'm not good at finance, you can guarantee that I'm going to talk to somebody, and somebody who's a neutral party is going to find me somebody who's going to help me make the right decision and invest in a company instead of invest in my neighbors, you know what I mean? Like whatever, or everybody who has their hand out. And the other thing that I think people need to know is that it's okay for them to say no.
Oh,
they're allowed to say no.
Yes.
They worked the hours. They've done the grind. They've shot. We had a female WNBA player who's now a coach, the only coach in the NCAA.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, Division I NCAA coaches male team, and
Anisha Curry.
She's an amazing,
awesome.
She is
young woman,
unbelievable.
great leader, and she's got big goals to become a head coach.
But she has a record. She has a record of 3.
Yeah, she has the number one record of free throws, 168 in a row.
Oh my God!
That girl can put the ball in the basket.
She's ridiculously awesome. But when we talk to her, that discipline comes from, my job was to do this, and if I don't know how to do this, I will find somebody who does to help me. That's pretty much how that whole thing works. Right. And so people like her are really driven by truth. She's like, my truth is that I really don't care what all these people say. This is my dream, and this is what I'm doing. And will I help other people? Of course. But at the end of the day, she drowns out, I don't know how she does it. It's the most amazing thing to listen to. But she drowns out the noise, and she just shows up every time. And she shows up for her players. She showed up for her team. She shows up for her family. She said it took a village to raise her.
I bet.
Just so she could go and do what she needed to do. And people stayed out of the way and just let her do her dream and supported her. And sometimes that's what it takes, right?
Right. Yeah. The common theme is here, folks. And I always say, just do you. Focus on the things that are important to you and do them today. Don't wait.
That's right.
Don't wait.
That's right.
But now we're about to take you into our top 10. And because this is a top 10, we're going to do it individually. My man, Brian, are you ready?
I think so.
Apple or Android?
Well, it used to be Android, but now it's Apple.
Apple, Netflix or YouTube?
Netflix.
Instagram or Facebook?
Instagram.
Chicken or steak?
Steak.
Laptop or smartphone? Look at Kimberly's face, by the way, too. She's like, oh.
Probably laptop for me.
Spotify or Pandora?
Spotify.
Movies or video games?
Movies.
Reading books or listening to books?
Listening.
Stocks or real estate?
Both.
Yeah, that's what I like. Get it all. I like it. Oceans or lakes?
Oceans.
Awesome. Now, Kimberly, you're up. She's got the face on. Apple or Android?
I would say Android, even though I'm an Apple user.
Okay. Oh, watch out. Netflix or YouTube?
YouTube.
The Tube. There's so much great content on YouTube too. It's unbelievable.
We have like 60 videos people should check out on YouTube. So I'm a big
nice. Yeah. We'll plug that for sure. We'll put that in the show notes. You guys' YouTube channel. Absolutely. Instagram or Facebook?
Oh gosh, I don't know Instagram. So Facebook all the way.
Facebook, the OG. Let's see here. Chicken or steak?
Steak.
Laptop or smartphone?
Smartphone.
Spotify or Pandora?
Spotify.
Movies or video games?
Movies.
Reading books or listening to books?
Listening to books.
Stocks or real estate?
I agree with the both. I live with the financial planner, but we want it all.
We want it all. Oceans or lakes?
Oceans.
And so this is for both of you. We're now coming in on a 2020. I can't believe it. 2020. I can't even believe it. When I put it down, I'm like, I cannot believe I'm writing 2020 on my checks or on anything. But we're on a new year. And so right now, what is your biggest passion, folks? What is driving you guys? I know you guys got a lot of things, but what is driving you guys?
Well, I mean, what we're doing is driving us, and it's so exciting to get buy-in from other people. To be able to, we took a lot of risks. We stepped away from what was security and stepped into something we really wanted to do. And I've been wanting to internally do this for a long time. It was killing me, but I was afraid. But if you can step into your passion, if you can find your passion and follow that, and if you can surround yourself with the right people, chances are you're going to live a much better, more passionate life. And I'm experiencing it right now. I'm pretty juiced on being in my situation.
It's good to be blessed. Ryan Ross.
It's good to be Ryan Ross. That's good, because at the end of the day, folks, you can have all your investments right. You can have money in the bank. You can have all these things. But if you're not doing the things that you love too, that's part of a happy, fulfilling life, I believe. And I always tell everybody this. You can do anything you want in the world. And guess what? You'll have to just spend 1 hour per week doing it. You got to spend time working on it. If you don't have 100 hours to work on things because maybe you got jobs, families, kids, etc. But if you want to be a better painter, if you want to learn Spanish, if you want to learn coding, if you want to learn how to make videos, if you want to learn how to podcast, anything, start with 1 hour a week, but be consistent. Because as you guys know, I'm sure the average podcast is like 7 episodes. The average blog dies out after a few weeks. Once people don't start seeing, oh, the audience is there. I remember when I first would look at my analytics on the podcast, and it would be depressing, folks, in some cases, because it'd be like less than 20 people listen to this show. And I put in all this effort to this show, you know? And so, but when you look back at those and then you look at days like in the future where you're getting like maybe possibly 1,000 or so downloads on any given day or more, and you're like, holy shit, this is unbelievable. Like that this can happen if you put in the effort and you keep consistent and you put in the work over time. I've been doing it for 5 years now. 2020, I started 5 years ago in March. The point is, there's people way ahead of me, Joe Rogan, and there's et cetera, that are just way killing it. So it's not a pissing race, folks, anywhere. It's not who's going to be bigger, because there's always going to be someone that's bigger, faster, stronger, has more money in the bank, looks better than you, period. There's always going to be that person. You don't have to chase that, but put out the content. And that gets me into my next question to you guys. Do you think you'll ever retire, Brian?
Shit. Listening to you just motivated me even more, because one of the things Kim and I discussed, no, we're not going to retire.
No, baby, that's right. Boom.
But hearing what you said is true. It's about being consistent and building the content. And one of the things Kim and I just really recently realized is that we've been so busy building content. I mean, literally making films, long form and short form.
So many things.
Interviewing people and just being busy that we all of a sudden realized, oh my gosh, we probably should start thinking about branding and marketing ourselves.
Yourselves, yeah.
Right. So, and developing a following. We weren't really focused on that. We were focused on creating something that the world could benefit from. But the reality is that you have to get it out there, and we are doing that now. So shows like yours are a big help.
Thank you.
And you know, teaming up with some of the celebrity sports stars, obviously that's going to be a big benefit as long as everyone's bringing value. Right. So yeah, if there's anybody out there that's a professional at that, point them our way, because we want to get what we're doing out to as many people as possible. I think I said earlier, we're a humanities media company, so we bring awareness and education to most of humanity, and that's a pretty damn big number.
I love that. I love that focus too, because I think like you see so much negative shit. And honestly, folks, in the last like 10, 20 years, I've seen so many horror movies. Like if you look at the content that's out there, like what in the F is going on? Like there's so many damn horror goddamn movies. And like half the time when I watch that stuff, I just start laughing because you know how fake it is. But then some of them freaking scare the hell out of you. And I don't think that needs to be in people's heads. Like, why do you need to be watching this shit? Like, focus on something else, even if it's telling a story of or something else that's more humanistic and real. Because how many times have you seen Freddy Krueger in your life? Outside of Halloween, folks, how many times have you seen Freddy Krueger? Never at the grocery store, never anywhere. This is all just a fantasy. So it's just interesting that horror's become such a big one lately in the last 20 years, I would say, in film. You see that that trending. It's just been trending up. So I think storytelling is there's something still in that. But you're right. You hit it on the head, Brian. I mean, the biggest thing today is not only creating the content, but distribution. And that's why you see companies like Netflix, Disney Plus, they're going directly to the consumer. They're skipping all the intermediaries directly to the consumer, just like you guys are going to be doing with your training and workshops too. You can give out a lot of great content, and then you can get some money too, as well, helping the audience along the way, you know. And I think people are willing to support people that are doing that initiative. And I give you guys like a lot of acumen, and I think that you're in a ton of a great place. Let's just put it that way, because people like you, people like my boy Tom Bilyeu that has Impact Theory. I mean, if you want to talk about someone that's figured it out, he's figured it out. I mean, I did Tom, I think it was near episode like 10 something. Anyways, he was just coming off being Quest Nutrition president, and he was like doing big things, but he hadn't even started Impact Theory at that point, folks. And look at what he's built with Impact Theory. Go type it in, look in the audience he's built, and look at the kind of influence. Yes. And so people like that have that spirit and they want to give back, people like our common friend Dave, they're going to continue to grow, because I think that the world is needing that more. Even though we're having, action films and all these other things that are coming our way, I think we need still to be learning how to get through our days, get our work done, be motivated, learn from the success and fails of others, see what the hell the kind of work ethic people have, because Elon Musk, folks, has work ethic like you've never seen. He's working more hours than you can imagine. If you can, physically imagine a rocket company and one of the biggest speculative car companies / solar battery makers in the world, right? Like, he's doing deals with China and the biggest deals. So we all have time in our day, folks. Don't say you don't have time, right? Let me ask you guys a question first then, Brian. Also, how do you typically like to start your day? Do you have a routine?
I think this should be a question for Kim, actually.
Oh, Kim, how do you start your day?
Structure.
Well, I'm the queen of structure, actually.
Oh, nice. I like that.
And I don't necessarily, I'm not exactly like an army sergeant, but I am kind of, and we have kind of a large family here. We have a lot of moving parts and it requires a lot of accountability.
Sure.
So I'm the queen of holding people accountable, and Brian will be the first person to say that. The guys, our film guys, they'll be the second people probably to say that as well. But for me, wake up and some people don't even look at their phone. And there are times that I give myself days off where I don't look at my phone until 11 a.m.
Nice.
And I give myself permission to unplug and to become untethered. I did a whole film about being tethered to a phone. And after knowing some of that research and what it's actually doing to our human brain, I have a very, very hard time justifying any phone near my brain at this point.
Right.
So I'll use my fingers. And
She still uses it a lot.
I do use it a lot, like 11 hours a day, but I go through 2 batteries on my 11 max. but I will say this. I wake up in the morning and it's basically a mindset. Sometimes I have really terrible days and I'm okay to admit that I'm having a terrible day.
Yes.
Sometimes I don't understand why I wake up in a mood that I do. I don't think it has to do with PTSD. I think it just has to do with being human and processing things when you're sleeping. And when you wake up, sometimes I wake up with anxiety, and it's hard to kind of shake that for any length of period of time. But we've created tools where we have like a professional massage chair, we have a biomat, we have all of these things. We meditate, we have crystals throughout our whole house just for energy balance.
Oh, nice. I like that.
So just for what is that? It looks like a fluorite.
My sister got this to protect me from, I don't know, all electromagnetic things, and I don't know.
Oh, maybe aquamarine. It's all of the things. That's very good. Yeah, so that's good.
I always have different crystals around me too, thanks to my sister. So I'm
well, that's awesome.
She gives me as different gifts.
Because we are energetic beings and we are working in a frequency universe, we are subject to all of those things, and being mostly water, we're going to mold to what they are versus us mold to what they are. So you really have to, you're a product of your environment in every electronic way. So to make yourself available to energies that will kind of offset that, whether it be crystals or good energy people or salt lamps or just fresh air, walking in the grass. We live on conservation land. Super important to just make sure that you stay grounded. We have dogs. We also have another film about animals called A Rescue Story, where we help dogs find their forever homes all over the country, from the floods from Texas, bringing them up to Wisconsin, helping them to rehabilitate. There's just so many things. You asked earlier about what we were passionate about. Part of my routine is, what am I passionate? What am I grateful for? Brian and I do that. We pray every meal. It's almost like a meditation before we eat, because we know that the food that goes in our body is going to fuel us.
Yes.
And so we're grateful and present in that. So I think what my underlying routine would be is to do everything you do mindfully.
Mindfully. Oh yeah.
Mindfully. Period. End of story. Like, if you can eat, be mindful. I'm looking into your eyes while we're talking. We're having conversation. I'm not thinking about anything else. Yes. There's, I'm driving. I'm present. I'm not on my phone because it's against the law. You know what I mean? If you're with your mate, you're like really intimately with your person, like exchanging energy. If you're walking your dog, you're really appreciating the grass, the air, the wind, the ground, the way that your dog waddles. You know what I mean? Like the whole thing, and you're just being joyful. And I think stress, because there's a lot of stress in our life specifically because we allow it. I think stress management for me is really important, and that's where the anxiety comes in. It's really hard. It's really hard to be leading a company with a lot of different entities, and a lot of weight is on our shoulders to do the right thing all of the time.
Right.
And then when we have our boy Brian over here, who's like, everything will be remarkable. Okay, well, guess what?
Bill's got to get paid. We got to do this. We got to do this. We got to do this.
But it's not even about that. It's about the level of your commitment to everything you do to make it remarkable. So when we release something and I send it to you, you're like, oh my God, you guys, that's awesome. I'm totally going to share this, but I don't have to tell you to share it. You're going to want to share it because it's epic.
Got you.
You know? And that's
Absolutely.
what our films, that's why our films are 20 laurels.
To us.
Like we got our first film out the gate, we got 20 laurels.
Wow.
And so that's a pretty big deal.
Educate the audience about that. What does that mean exactly? Or what?
So like a laurel is, those, they're like awards or nominations. We got a ton of nominations. And
wow.
and in India, we got,
awesome.
we got for one of their series for the Virgin Cinema, I can't remember what it's called, the Virgin Cinema. They got best documentary, best director, and best cinematography. Yeah. And so that was really awesome. But again, people across the world, they're looking toward us as Americans. They actually, it's amazing. Like, I don't know if you can see him right to my right, but this is Max. Max is literally, he does documentaries as well, like outside of Conscious Content, and he's traveled the globe.
Wow.
And he's been exposed. He was, where have you been in the last 5 months? Just give me some countries.
We were just in Vietnam and Japan. Just got back from a national tour about 2 months ago. So that took us along the whole West Coast and then most of the Midwest. And
he does music documentaries.
Oh, that's awesome. That's
so he's chilling with some really rad musicians, and they go all over the world. But the bottom line is the plethora of knowledge that he collects when he's out collecting stories, it gives you perspective. So I would imagine that Max feels more grounded when he comes home and he's got all the comforts of home rather than being somewhere else where they're just different.
Right.
And what we're learning is that people outside of the United States are very receptive to the messages that Conscious Content and even Road Remarkable are going to be bringing, because they're suppressed where they are and nobody's talking about it internally. So we're like, there's a white elephant in the room for this cause. We're going to bring it to your attention and we're going to let you see it. And it's almost easier for them to get it from an outside perspective because they're still not quite taking responsibility for the things that they've done, but it's creating a level of awareness for the people who want to get that information and go, oh my gosh, you mean we're not the only ones?
Yes.
Oh, and there can be even a small level of acceptance with that. So that's what brings us passion, is knowing that we're helping many, many people.
That's exciting. And I have another question for you guys. What do you have a favorite app that you like using on a daily basis? There's something on your phone that you like. I know we're not supposed to use the phone too often, but what's the one, Kimberly, you like using? What's the one that of those 11 hours you're using the most?
The one that I use the most is probably our bank app.
True. That's very true. Hey, that's being real. I was just on the bank app. Hey.
He also has a new app. She was helping with our newest logo because I was basically beating my head up against the wall. I couldn't quite get our new logo for Road to Remarkable correct. And I had some outside help. I had our guys help and just couldn't quite get it. And she downloaded an app on her iPhone and started whipping it out with her finger. Next thing you know, now we're back in business. And we did move it on to a professional finish. But man, it
helped you kind of sketch it out. Is it like a sketch app?
That app is actually called Photofox.
Photofox. Okay.
Photofox,
and so it allows you to kind of create some basic visual content, things like that, logos.
So not really. I mean, it does. It's called a quick art process, and it allows you to like imagine things where you can take. Do I have it here? I could probably show you, but Photofox, it's a paid app, but it's...
There's our boxers. Can you hear him?
He said, hey, welcome everybody.
We have two boxers, female and male.
Oh, nice.
And they're part of the...
They're part of the fam. They're part of the fam, baby. That's what we're on. We're always on the Be Real show. Nothing can go wrong on this show. Let's put it that way. I've had everything. And the best thing about my show is that it's Be Real. So no worries. I love dogs. I love family. I think you guys are in a pipeline of success. I can see you guys getting picked up by Netflix or someone big wanting to use your content, distribute it. Apple's trying to do big things now with content. Obviously, Disney. I don't know Disney because they usually try to keep everything in-house. But you never know. Disney could call one day and say, hey, what's up? I remember my boy Tom, when he was talking to me about impact theory, he said, I'm going to be Disney for motivation. And I was like, wow, That's big words, man. When you really think about that, that's like big words. That means you're going to have theme parks one day and you're going to be doing it. Cruise ships, the impact their cruise ship. No, but seriously, and to see what can happen from that, from putting out content consistently, working at it, and also being in the space that you guys are in right now, where you're telling stories that maybe people need to hear. You know, they're not always the easiest story. Sometimes it's hard to look yourself in the mirror and say, I have PTSD, or maybe you didn't even know it, or maybe basically you just needed to feel something that you are like not alone, you know, with this thing. Because I think that's part of being a human is we don't know at the end what happens. There could be a variety of things that happen. Everyone has speculations, and we go to heaven or we don't go to heaven. We're reincarnated. We do this, we do that. We don't really know. No one does. Okay. No one. So there's always that unknown of our lives. And to be feeling that someone is going through the same experience and has gone through the same stuff as I have really connects people. You know, I think today more than ever, it really connects people to say, hey, you know what? Brian's gone through the same thing I have. You know, Kimberly, she just found a story, and you know what? That connected to someone else, you know? And so I think that's the most important thing about the content going forward in the future. Obviously, people want to still be entertained and want these horror films and want all this other craziness that's out there, which I wish they wouldn't make action shooter games, because we wonder why we have so many damn shooting, you know, incidents across the United States, right? It's like they say one live, like a live shooter every day in the United States, right? Yeah. And so just think about like the content that people are making. But now to talk to you guys about a couple more questions here before we got to roll is be real today, Brian. If someone was going to come to you to Orlando and have dinner with you, my man, who would you bring to dinner? Who would be the person you'd like to talk to?
Of anyone?
Anyone in the world. Yeah, anyone in the world.
Probably my boy, Joe Rogan. I think.
Joe.
I love listening to Joe. I love how he is fearless, how he's taken all of his experience and he uses on the podcast, but deep down underneath that tough exterior, he cares. He cares a lot. He cares about what's actually happening in the world. If you listen to, he's into plant medicines. He's Absolutely. Into, he has a buoyancy tank. I can't think what it's called right now.
Yes.
Float tank.
Yes.
Really interesting guy. I would love to have him on the show, but I would love to have dinner with him. I think he eats steak now too, because he loves pasta and clams, but it's bad for him. So
it's bad for you. Right.
He's a cool guy.
Cut that shit out.
He's figured out how to get his conversation out to, most of the world. And I think my hat's off to him. He's doing a great job. And he's the number one podcaster right now, folks. Number one podcaster, making the most money, just on the top level. I love his shows because it's very candid. You can tell that he knows and researches his guests, but he's not got a template to it, the whole thing. And obviously it's a free form conversation of some of them are many, many hours long, and so 3 hours with someone and, uncovering some very interesting topics, folks. So if you haven't heard of Joe Rogan's podcast, you're probably on Mars right now. But beyond that, you should probably go check it out because, it's fascinating, the people that he interviews. From the mobsters to the guys that are doing with the cartels to all the fitness stuff and just it's every vertical and in between. And so, but it's usually the top people. Yeah. Like David Sinclair. That got me into reading Lifespan, learning about that we might not have to die, folks. I have that book.
Yes.
Yeah.
Best
Probably
book.
On the podcast.
Insane. Yes. David Sinclair is amazing. You should connect to him. I know that he is he's a busy man too, but he's still open to doing some podcast stuff. So
very cool.
A really good guest for you guys. And then also my question is this for you. Could you give us one last real talk thought for our listeners? What can you leave them with today?
Mm-hmm. You want me to do that or you?
Sure, go ahead.
Well, if it were me, I would say that life is short. And like you had said, we don't really know what's going to happen. I'm a person of faith, but, we're here for such a short amount of time. I still feel like a kid, but, I can't help but look at the clock and realize I'm getting older. Don't be afraid to follow your passion. Don't be afraid of fear. What I've discovered is that all the magic in life is just beyond fear. Fear it's a similar feeling to excitement. So if you have to fool yourself that you're excited, whatever it is, just step into your fear and go do what you were meant to be here for. We all have purpose. So, I mean, if you look around the world, it's beautiful and it's full of all kinds of broken things, but you don't have to look far to realize how amazing things are. So there's purpose to this planet that's hurling through the universe. So don't be afraid. Go live your life. Don't hurt anyone. Try to bring value, but chase your dreams.
I love that. Chase your dreams, folks. Don't be afraid. Let's do this. We got this. And where's the best place for people to connect to you and learn more about the Conscious Content Collective?
So our basic website, which is the hub for all of our information, for the most part, is consciouscontent.org. And all of our links are on there.
Awesome. Yeah, we'll put that. Folks, you'll see that in the show notes. So go to consciouscontent.org. Is that correct? You got it, folks. Well, folks, it's my pleasure. We've been hanging out with Brian Resch and Kimberly Resch and Travis Too Tall and Huff, of course. We want to thank you again for your time today, and let's keep being real. We're all going through a lot right now, and real-time outsource, my business, is giving back to local and small businesses. Through our social media services and campaigns, we are actually helping small businesses get more exposure during these times, and also when we get through these times. At the end of the day, we don't know how long this is all going to last, but most importantly, you got to think about your business right now and take it seriously. So come check us out at realtimeoutsource.com, and we would love for you to qualify and get the process started where we can take a look at your business and see if we can qualify you for some of our services. At little to no cost for most of the businesses, and some businesses, you're going to have to pay, but that's just part of life, right? But most importantly is that I think this is the time, folks, that you can actually help thrive in your business. And so I would love to help you personally with our team. We're all going through a tough time right now. So take advantage of this. realtimeoutsource.com. Check us out, and we would love to do some business with you and help you with your social and digital media in 2020 and beyond. What another epic episode. And if you enjoyed the episode today, can you please do me a favor and subscribe to our podcast, The Be Real Show, on iTunes or your favorite podcast platform. And also take a little time today, if you don't mind, and give your boy T Huff a review. I would really super appreciate it. And thank you so much for listening today.